lakes and fields. Outdoor ramblings, rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill. Rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill. Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of Outdoor Ramblings. I'm Milton Crabapple, and I'm here with O'Neill Williams, the man, the legend himself, and we're here to talk about the outdoors and just rambling around and rambling about. Ain't that true, O'Neill?
That's a fact. I'm wanting to learn something today. I'm going to shut up.
You are?
No, not really.
Well, you know, I had a topic.
I couldn't do that.
I had a topic I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
Now, unless you got something else you'd rather talk about. But, you know, lots of folks ask me about this badge on my hat. You know, that's because I'm a sheriff. Been a sheriff of Crabapple, Georgia now for going on 40 years, I guess, you know. And when you're in law enforcement, you just have to end up, I don't know a better way to say it. You end up having to get involved in certain things sometimes that you'd rather not be involved in.
Certainly.
You have to know things that you'd rather not even know, but stuff comes up and it's your responsibility. So you just got to jump right in there and do it. And a prime example was, I was telling a fellow the other day, been a few summers back, somebody called, you know, me and Dude fish down at Old Man Eatrus's pond all the time. That's our favorite fishing hole down there. Catch them big bluegills and catfish and all kind of stuff, you know. We need to have a fish fry. We just go down to Old Man Eatrus's pond. A lot of people fish down there because he don't care. Somebody called up the jail and said they spotted a big alligator down in Old Man Eatrus's pond.
Oh.
I said, alligator? I said, well, there ain't been an alligator in Crabapple in 50 years that I know of. They said, well, there's one down there now, and you better go down there and check it out. You're the sheriff. You can't let somebody sit around and get eat up or attacked by an alligator. You better go check it out. I said, well, I'll go check it out. So I told Dude, I said, Dude, somebody says they spotted an alligator in Old Man Eatrus's pond. I reckon we ought to ride off over there and check it out. So come on. So we got in my pickup truck and drove over there. Now, we parked out on the road. I said, let's just park out here on the road and walk across the pasture and be real quiet. We'll sneak up on that pond and we'll see what's going on out there. So along the dam there's a bunch of alder bushes growing up. And we circled around. We come up behind the dam, kind of bent over and creeped up behind them alder bushes, and we just raised up and looked out over the top of them alder bushes, and right there in that lake, right 10 feet in front of us, was an alligator mighty near as long as my pickup truck.
Oh.
He was just laying there staring us right in the face. Well, we just froze.
Sure.
I told Dude, I said, Dude, just remember, he's just as scared of you as you are of him. Dude said, well, if that's true, that water ain't fit to drink. Yes, sir. But we ended up catching him. We lassoed him. We carried him over there to the zoo, left him at the zoo and come home. But you just never know what you're going to run into.
Oh, yeah.
Law enforcement.
Absolutely. Law enforcement and just being in the woods.
And folks out in the woods. You know, I got a good friend of mine that he's one of my best friends, and this happened several years ago, and I ain't going to mention his name. But he was down there somewhere in South Georgia on some deer property. I think he was maybe in that Oconee National Forest down there, and it was during deer season, during gun season. He was just coming back from hunting. He was just riding along the old dirt road way back in there, just riding along slow, looking on both sides of the road, see if he could spot a deer. And all of a sudden, he spotted a big buck standing off out there about 20 yards off of the road. I mean, it was a monster, too. Well, now, you know, you ain't supposed to shoot from a firearm from the road.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, there wasn't nobody around, so he eased out and reached back in the back and got his rifle. He might have already had a shell in it. I don't know. That'd be illegal, too, I guess. But he opened that door up, and that buck standing out there staring at him, and he put it on that buck and squeezed one off. He said when he hit that buck, fire and sparks flew out of it, and said, next thing you know, from both directions, here comes the game wardens. Boxed him in, got him.
That's right.
Cost him about $500. And Learned a good lesson right there.
You bet. Well, I'll tell
Better
you
obey the law.
A friend of mine, this was before we moved up here to the mountains, and I had a good friend. He's a doctor, and a great guy. And close to his cabin along the river, the DNR had put out a deer like that. And then they parked so you couldn't see them. And car after car after car would stop and then, and look, because I spotted it, and I thought it was a buck standing over there because it was about 100 yards, something like that. Couldn't see it very well, but you could tell it was a buck. And the car after car after car would stop because I talked to him afterwards. But sure enough, every day, some guys would stop, get out of their truck or get out of their car, and take a shot at it.
That was an expensive round.
And they paid the price for it. I don't know how many holes was in that deer. Quite a few. You can't just expect to get caught breaking the game laws and say, well, I didn't know what the law was, Oh, certainly.
Grandpa Crabapple told me one time, and I believe you'll agree with this. He said there's a big difference in game wardens and police officers. He said that a typical police officer sees people breaking the law 100 times a day, and he's just got to finally decide which one of them is bad enough to where he's going to stop and arrest them. But he sees it going on all day. He said the game warden knows it's going on all day, but he can't never catch nobody doing it.
It's seldom.
And he said when he finally does catch you and get his hands on you, you're gonna pay the piper.
You're gonna pay
because he's worked mighty hard for a long time to catch you.
Well, I have the opportunity, and I accept them when it's relatively convenient, and I'll give a talk at a club or something of that nature. And one of the things that I always say, and I think it's the most important thing that I say when I do these lectures, if you will, I always tell everybody, if you've got a youngster, girl or boy, and they're available, bring them, because I've got something I want to say to them. And quite often I have a pretty good crowd of youngsters. The benefit is, if you think about it, in the outdoors, we don't have a guy in a black and white striped shirt to throw a flag on us if we break a rule. We're on our own. We have to know what the rules are, and we have to choose not to break them. So the things that you can learn in the outdoors and being a sportsman and be a law-abiding sportsman, fishing, hunting, trapping, whatever it is, you can carry those and have those demonstrated to you the rest of your life.
That's a good point. And, I like a lot of people, now I don't know about you, but I was raised by a bunch of game violators.
I wasn't. Okay, go ahead.
I really was. Lots of times we just didn't pay much attention to the game laws and all. And that actually was a bad example for me growing up, was that the law doesn't necessarily mean anything. So, just teaching kids to obey, if you take them hunting and fishing, they need to be aware where they're going and what the law is and who has a license, who's not required to have a license, what the bag limit or the creel limit is, what the bait restrictions are or the firearms restrict. They just need to be aware of the fact that today we're going out here and do this. We're going to have fun, but there are laws that come into play, and we've got to make sure we obey all of those laws. And you teach those kids from early on to be law-abiding citizens.
They make the decision to break the law or not. It's up to them. It's not on a referee on the field of play like a football game.
that's up to them, and that may just save them a lot of heartache later on as they grow up, you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But now the folks that violated the game laws when I was growing up, they loved the outdoors. They paid their fair share. They never once. I remember Grandpa Crabapple one time when he turned, I believe it was 62 or whatever, and they told him, said, yeah, you don't have to buy a hunting fishing license anymore. Now you're going to get one. And he told me, he said, I ain't never once in my life complained 1 minute about buying a hunting and fishing license. He said, I know where that money goes. And he said, what it's good for. He said, so don't think you're giving me any big favor telling me I don't have to buy a hunting and fishing license. He said, I've never complained 1 minute about it.
That's right. I still buy a license. I'm sure you do too.
Well, I think I got the lifetime. I'm a lifetime member of the NRA, and anything that offers a lifetime discount, I take advantage of.
You know, last week we talked about, and I think this is a great example. Last week we talked about turkey hunting, okay? In 1910, 1920, 1930, the total number of wild turkeys in the United States was somewhere around 20,000. And then when the rules came around and we started paying excise taxes on our fishing stuff and our camping gear and our hunting gear, and all that money went to the Department of Natural Resources, that was 100 years ago. Now there are 10 million wild turkeys in the United States, in North America.
How about that?
So buying stuff and having the excise tax, fishermen and hunters pay their own way. They raised their hand and said, I'll pay. Just tack the price on the hunting gear.
That's exactly right. Everything we pay for, we pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And don't mind. And then we'll also pay extra money to hunt in certain places as time goes on.
Oh, absolutely. I know let's see, Allison's husband, they just got back. They went hunting out there with Travis, and his license, non-resident license for Oklahoma, was $350.
He didn't mind at all, did he?
No, that was just part of the deal.
Yeah, that's it. It wasn't guaranteed to bag anything, was it?
Nope.
Just part of the deal.
That's exactly right. And that's part.
Yeah.
Let's talk about springtime fishing. It's fishing time.
Well, it is. It is fishing time. And I get conflicted about that too.
Well, you got hunting, you got turkey season, and you got the air's warming up, water's warming up, and I've got something I want everybody to understand, if you don't mind, because where you and I live in the foothills and all up through the Appalachian Mountains, there's clear deep water reservoirs. Okay, and in the wintertime, and the summertime too, really, the game fish spend most of their time in deep water. They in the standing trees and in the brush and all that kind of stuff. And I've got something I want to tell everybody so that they can give this a try. Okay. Now, this is from O'Neill. This is not something I learned. I learned this on my own. You're fishing deep water for bass or stripers or something like that, and you catch and it's a brush pile, it's a standing tree, and you catch two. All of a sudden, you don't get a bite. Now think this thing through. Do you think those were the only two bass there?
No.
Might have been 200 but down there. But you caught two. Maybe it spooked the school, but they're still there. So what do? Leave. Go someplace else for a half an hour. A fish has only got a memory, just a couple of minutes. Then come back and you'll catch some more in the same spot.
How about that? Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And you talk about a fish having a short memory. Now, I grew up also going trout fishing up in the mountains a lot, in the streams up there. We used to do that a lot. And a friend of mine said one of the best trout fishermen he knew was a fella that lived up there that taught him how to trout fish. He said that fella, they'd be going up a stream and come to a good hole out there where boy, I know there's a good one out there in that hole, but there'd be a big tree limb in the water, or a limb hanging down, or a trash pile, or a log, or something you just couldn't cast over in there. He said, well, that fella just wade out in the water and grab all that trash and drag it out of there and stomp around, throw them tree limbs up on the bank and everything else, and then he'd go sit down over there and smoke a cigarette. And he said by the time he got through smoking that cigarette, he'd go back over there and catch them fish.
Yeah.
He said they just didn't stay disturbed but about 10 or 15 minutes, and that was it. They were right back in there ready to bite again.
I had a great example of that, but not fresh water, but salt water. And I don't know. I don't think you've been there with me down to Cocoa Beach and fish in the area where they take the rockets off. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And there's a fish down there, which I think is the best tasting fish in salt water, and it's called a triple tail. And just as an example, I have caught a triple tail on a shrimp, taken him off because he was too small, put him in the water, and 15 minutes later, I caught the same one because I could tell where the hook was. If you'll just exercise some sense, you can maximize your catch.
Well, I've done the same thing with carp fishing before, too. Had one break my line, break it off, and then be fishing. And hit 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, catch one. There's my hook.
Yeah.
In his mouth. I've done caught him again. And the same thing.
How about that?
But yeah, they don't remember things like a turkey does. I believe he remembers stuff a good bit longer.
It's funny, down on that Florida coast, there's a big long sandbar, real curved, okay, and it makes for a bay in there. And I learned this from somebody else. A triple tail is also called an eddy fish. He wants to be under something. He wants to be up against something all the time. All right. And he's a fabulous tasting fish. Dumb as a post. And we would, first thing in the morning, we'd get the newspaper and open the newspaper and put newspapers out along 200-300 yards off the beaches. There wasn't anybody. You can't beach there, okay, because it's the rocket place. And we'd put out 20 or so pieces of newspaper. And then you turn around and come back to the first one, and there'd be a triple tail under every newspaper.
How about that? Yeah.
And then
I believe that's illegal now, ain't it?
I don't know.
I believe that's illegal to do now.
Is it? Well, see, there you go. I learned something this morning.
There you go. And
then when the trip was over, we'd come back and get all the newspapers, take them back with us. Is that legal?
I believe it's illegal now. Maybe somebody can write in or comment on our Facebook page too. By the way,
y'all
folks,
forgive me, okay? I didn't know any better.
If you're listening to this, go to our Facebook group, Outdoor Ramblings with O'Neill Williams and Milton Crabapple. Join our Facebook group, and you'll get an instant notification every time we come out with a new episode. It'll ding you on your phone, and you'll know there's a new episode there. And you can watch it anytime you want to. They're all right there on our Facebook page, Outdoor Ramblings.
I got dinged early this morning.
You did? Well, good for you. Good for you. So go check it out, folks, and tell everybody about it. We want to grow our group, and we're having a lot of fun doing this, and we hope you're enjoying it too. So, O'Neill, you got anything else you want to talk about, law enforcement or fishing or grappling or anything else?
Well, one of the things I guess maybe is an overall about our visiting with people or people visiting us when rambling. Most of what we say, most of what we recommend, I believe most of the time it's just a reminder. People know these things already.
They do.
That like the deep bass on a brush pile. They just don't practice it.
Plus, they like to hear us tell about it.
Maybe that's it.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed this again, O'Neill.
Well, me
hanging
too.
Out and talking about the outdoors. I'm looking forward to us continuing to do this. And folks, tell your friends about it. Help us build up our following. Enjoy.
Tell me about tell everybody about your recordings now. You need to get that started again.
Well, we're doing it. Thank you for reminding me. You know, I recorded back in the day 6 live albums when I was with Southern Tracks Records in Atlanta. So we're pulling some of those albums out now and putting them available online on links and also on audio CDs and DVDs. So you can go to miltoncrabapple.com, and the one that we just released and brought back is my favorite, called Stir Fried Groundhog. It's got a lot of funny stories on there and some songs too that might even bring a tear to your eye. So go check it out.
Well, it made me cry the last time I heard it.
And I tell you, we got a deal going too. If you buy one for the price of 2, you get the second one free.
Oh, and too, so we don't forget, you can go to Amazon and get my book, O'Neill Outside. 65 years in the outdoors, people and places along the way, like Sheriff Crabapple that I met.
It's a good book. I've read it. I got an autographed copy of it, too.
Yes, you do.
I'll sell that one too if anybody wants.
Yeah, sure, that's right.
Yes,
book
sir.
hadn't changed at all. You can
always
watch these.
Trying to make $1.
You can watch Rambling with O'Neill and Milton on YouTube and Facebook, and listen to the podcast on, my goodness, just about everything.
Spotify, iTunes, it's out there all over the place, folks.
That's right.
Go subscribe to it. We hope to see you again and entertain you on another episode. And with that said, thank you for watching this episode of Outdoor Ramblings. And do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Always keep your nose to the wind and your eyes along the skyline. And if you hear somebody yell "low bird," don't forget to duck.
And let me do this, because I finished 32 years of radio with the following. If you're too busy to go fishing and take a child along, you're too busy.
Outdoor ramblings, rambling around the woodlands, the rivers, lakes, and fields. Outdoor ramblings, rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill. Rambling about the outdoors with Milton and O'Neill.